Hello, I'm Moonsleep and welcome to Coffee Time, the show where I drink stuff and talk about stuff. Today I have got, I lean forward, a delicious glass of Pepsi Max. Not a coffee, admittedly, but it is ridiculously hot today because we're going through some sort of heat wave. So why would I drink coffee in a heat wave? That makes very little sense because it's already hot. I don't need to warm up with a warm drink. As you can tell, also, I'm in a different place. The lighting at my desk was awful because it's super sunny out. So I have sort of moved over here to the broken sofa, which you may have seen in some of my earlier videos. I think they're unlisted now, so if you did see the broken sofa in the previous videos, you're very lucky because, as I say, they're now unlisted. So the bulk of the topic today, I'm going to be talking about how I got into music production. So we start off back when I was probably 14 or so. I remember getting the first eJay. If you're familiar with eJay, it's like a drag and drop loops kind of sampler studio thing. Very basic. You can't sort of make your own sounds. There's no plugins or custom instruments. It's very much a case of, here is your library of samples, off you go, have fun. And yeah, I used that for a little while. It was fine, I guess. I remember I got it in a charity shop. That's a thrift store, for if you're American. A charity shop for, I think it was only a quid or something. And yeah, it lasted me pretty well because, you know, I used it for quite a while, made a few things with it. At the time I thought it sounded really cool, but I kind of realise now that it didn't. But yeah, we all start somewhere, ultimately. Then from there I kind of I didn't really improve too much in that the next thing I used was eJay version 6. So I went from 1 straight up to 6. Another charity shop find, eJay 6. And I used that a lot more than eJay 1. It was a lot more stable because, I mean, I was using eJay 1, a program that was made for probably like Windows 98, maybe XP. I was using that on like a Windows 7 computer, so it was not happy with it. But eJay 6 was made for Windows 7 onwards, so it kind of worked with my old Windows 7 PC. Once again, it was just drag and drop samples. They had like a sort of a weird little, like almost an instrument in that you could sort of program in notes and it would play along, but it wasn't incredible. Like the sounds that it could make were very limited. You were mostly just changing the pitch of it, which was an improvement, but wasn't incredible. From there I moved on to Audacity, which admittedly isn't really an audio workstation, but I guess it was a kind of improvement. I used to download samples online, mostly from Music Radar, which I believe they're still going. You can download, they've got loads of samples. And I used to sort of arrange them, and then there we go, that was my music. Once again, not great, and also the fact that it was kind of just arranged. I didn't really do anything special with it. It was just drag and drop, arrange it, there we go, there's a track. And then from there I got to a point where I was like, I want to improve my music production, but you know, samples and all that, they're not really doing it for me. So that's where I kind of had a look into other options, and I discovered music trackers. That went about as well as you'd imagine. I used that for a good few weeks, didn't really manage to get anything out of it because music trackers are really difficult, so yeah, didn't really manage to get a lot out of it, kind of gave up on it and moved into FL Studio, which is where I have spent the last 10 years in FL Studio. Obviously started off, my music was awful, and it has sort of gradually improved over time to where we are now. Bit of an honourable mention is GarageBand. Now I never really owned anything Apple when I was a kid because they're very expensive and, I mean, honestly overpriced, but they're very expensive for what they are, and I never had them. But I remember during music classes in high school, one of the things that we did was go to the Apple Store on like a weird kind of trip, and then got shown how to use GarageBand by the geniuses, and yeah, that was pretty fun. We got to make a track, and then they burnt it to a CD, and it had like a whole like CD case and everything with it, and you got to name it. And I remember mine being bad, like I don't know, like we got an hour to listen through a bunch of samples, arrange them. Yeah, it was kind of fun, and it was like my first use of GarageBand, and I kind of at the time liked GarageBand because I was this was probably when I was using eJay 6 probably, or maybe Audacity, maybe start of when I started using Audacity. So GarageBand kind of appealed because it was sort of a bit of a mix of both. I mean, ultimately, when I look at it now, I know that GarageBand is just kind of free Logic, ultimately. But back then, it looked really, really cool, and I wished that I could get it, but I couldn't because it was on Mac only. But there we go, that's kind of how my music production journey has gone from, you know, using eJay 1 back, you know, more than 10 years ago now, all the way up to today where I'm still using FL Studio because it's really good. So the recommendation this coffee time is going to be Ethernet by Cult Member. It's a very good album, released on Pure Life Tapes back in 2019, I believe. It's got a very sort of nice underground kind of dance rave kind of thing to it. I really recommend you check it out. It's available everywhere. Pure Life Tapes on Bandcamp and also on Spotify, so go and check that out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.